guys, M.V.K here, coming to you again. How's everybody doing out there? As well, welcome back to another edition of Characters Why I Like Them, Series 2. Yeah, trying to finish up Series 2, guys. It's going well. I'm really trying to finish it up. But as you saw from last week's segment, you saw who's up next. And yeah, you're looking at him, Mumm-Ra, the ever-living source of evil, yes, is here. And I'm here to talk about perhaps my favorite villain, animated villain, before he transitioned into comics and things like that. So let's talk about this character, Mumm-Ra, and what I liked about him and things like that. Okay, so first and foremost, gotta give props and respect to his creator, Tobin Wolfe, who passed away a few years ago, and also to the men who voiced him as well, Mr. Earl Hammett and Mr. Robin Atkin Dowles, who voiced him later on. So definitely. Alright, so we all know about Mumm-Ra a little, basically. But as always, I'd still like to do it if you don't know. Mumm-Ra, of course, is the main chief antagonist of the Thundercats. He is the mummy-like character that, lives up to what he is. The one thing and I quote my uncle, he lets you know right from the get-go who he is. He's Mumm-Ra, ever-living source of evil. And there's nothing more that you got to say about that. And that was always interesting about him. I thought it was interesting, the Thundercats having their main villain be like a mummy-like character, but he can transform into a different form to give him more power and things like that. I always thought that was interesting. I was like, when I first saw Mumm-Ra way back, gosh, I'm getting old, way back, I just remembered just liking the character even then. I was just like, I would root for Lionel and the rest of the Thundercats to fight Mumm-Ra, but still, a bit of me had a lot of respect for Mumm-Ra, he always, it was always showed that he was almost the ruler of Third Earth in a sense. He had all this power, and he was really unlimited lifespan. Like every time you thought the Thundercats took him out for good, he'd come back, and pretty much it lived up to that quote that he would always say: "Wherever evil lives, Mumm-Ra, wherever evil is, Mumm-Ra lives." And that was always interesting to me. Now you could tell from his look and just the way, the premise of his presence, he has a bit of Egyptian feel to him, so that was always cool. It was always showcased, him residing in the Black Pyramid and what appears to be like Egyptian ruins. And when he first, when it came to if Mumm-Ra, was, they never really got into the origin of Mumm-Ra in, the show. They never really got into it. They just said he was here. He's been here for thousands of years. He serves the ancient spirits and, things like that. And he had these capable abilities, like he can shape shift. He can do this. He can do that. Everything. It was like, this guy can't be stopped. But then they finally showed that he had a singular weakness. And his weakness was seeing his own hideous reflection in a mirror, anything like that would neutralize his abilities, and pretty much, and he would fly back to the, he would fly back to the Black Pyramid and get back in his sarcophagus, because he was so weakened from the experience. The first time that happened, I remember when Mumm-Ra attacked Lionel when he was still getting to know his body, because he was still a boy trapped in a man's body when they first arrived on Third Earth. And Mumm-Ra looked to have Lionel pinned, and his claw shield was giving off the reflection. I think it was his claw shield. he was giving off the reflection of Mumm-Ra, and it was in Mumm-Ra just and he just flipped out. I'm like, and as a kid, you look at it, and I'm like, what's wrong with him? Why is he doing that? Then I realized that it was his reflection, and that was always good. But Mumm-Ra would be like a major thorn in the Thundercats side. I mean, I remember at one point, he even transformed himself into King Arthur himself so he can acquire Excalibur. And he actually fought Lionel with Excalibur, with the Sword of Omens. And that was really good. It kind of showcased that Excalibur was stronger than the Sword of Omens. It was like, whoa. Things like that was very interesting. And of course, he had his own animal companion. Mumm-Ra was interesting. But wherever evil existed, Mumm-Ra lived. It was always that way. And for a long time, that's how it was. And then Wildstorm picked up the license, and they started to bring out some more origins of Mumm-Ra. And this is where it really got interesting, because when the Thundercats came on to Wildstorm Comics, their first chapter, Thundercats Origins, Heroes and Villains, we got to see Mumm-Ra's origins. And it pretty much, his origin was set in ancient Egypt. He was once known as Wakanuku. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. And he was a member of the Pharaoh's council and his most loyal advisor. However, he pretty much hated the Pharaoh. His real aim was to overthrow the royal power and the Pharaoh in a coup d'état. Pretty much. And rule the land for himself. So to do that, I remember reading he invoked the presence of the ancient spirits of evil, and for the first time, from like these 4 magical ruins, and each one of them represented a different being, and that's how they helped him. They basically said, you become our servant and do that, then we'll give you all the power. And finally, that's where he was pretty much, they mutated him into the form we know now, and he was given the name Mumm-Ra from there. And that was an interesting origin. That origin was really good. I recommend finding the Wildstorm Thundercats comics and reading those. Those were really good, definitely. By 2011, not too long ago, when they rebooted Thundercats for Cartoon Network, and I know a lot of people may not have been feeling it as much as true like other Thundercats fans was. I thought it was interesting, but they twisted Mumm-Ra's origin again. Like, they had it that he is of alien origin instead. But I did love his transformation. I liked, he was huge. He had bat wings. I thought that was really cool. And instead of having the reflection be it was almost like he was kind of like basically a weakness of a creature of the night. His sunlight would hurt him. I thought that was interesting as well. In intense bright light would hurt him. Bright light. No, I'm just messing with. But Mumm-Ra was a very good character. He's probably, if I was doing a non-comic book villain list, he'd probably be my number 1 non-comic cartoon villain. Even if I did put him in a top 100 villains list, he'd probably be in the top 100s for me, because he was a good villain whatsoever. And what's that saying? You got a good villain? A good hero always needs a good villain. And the Thundercats were good heroes, and they needed a good villain, and they had good villains. Mumm-Ra was their key villain, and it worked for them. And it was always a pleasure to see what the embodiment of evil was going to come up with next, and how to torment the Thundercats this time. I mean, he just wouldn't start with just deal with Lino. He went through everybody. He messed with Chitara. He messed with Panthro, Tigra, Wily Cat. Even Snarf. He just messed with the entire Thundercats clan, and it was really like just showing like this guy is bad. He is extremely bad, and you gotta respect it. And if you don't, you're gonna find out why you should. But yeah, Mumm-Ra was just a very good character, guys. I love him. I still love him to this day. I can still sit down, guys, and watch the original Thundercats still in awe. Child of the 80s, guys. And I've said it before, I've said it again. The 80s cartoons, those were the golden ages of cartoons. You don't see that stuff nowadays. The 90s, Silver Age. Now we're stuck in the modern age, and there are some, but not a lot like the 90s and the 80s. Those are the key moments for cartoons, in my opinion. But yeah, Mumm-Ra is just a great character, guys. And but you guys tell me what you think about Mumm-Ra. Do you like him? Do you hate him? Give me your input on Mumm-Ra. Once again, I want to show some love for Mr. Tobin Wolf. God bless him. He's up in heaven right now, but God bless him for creating the character, and God bless the two actors for voicing him as well, and God bless us Thundercat fans for loving the character as much. But I hope you guys enjoyed this. This is my Verdant Kid saying peace, one love, stay tuned, keep it real as always. I'll see you guys next time on Characters Why I Liked Them Series 2. I'll see you guys next week.